Look who we have here!
What up, jarheads?
It's Foxen!
Hello, everybody.
Yay!
It's Foxy, and Keni ABC said that he would try to join us if he gets home from he probably hasn't made it home from work in time, but he can join. I sent him the link so he can join us whenever.
Kenny is working very hard lately. He's
Yeah.
got 2 jobs. He's got a little kid.
It's so cute. His son is so cute.
Working so hard. So yeah, we are so excited to have Foxanne today. Did you know about Foxanne? She is a closet terrarium maker.
Literally closet.
Why have you been keeping this from us?
Well, I have talked about it a little bit, especially in my focus on with Rico. I've talked about that's where my aquariums have started, was with terrariums, but I never really went too far into it because that's my secret hobby. That's the thing I do just for myself, and I don't really share anyone. They're little pieces of memories of places I've been and stuff like that. So instead of taking a photo, I take some moss or some scape or some stones or whatever, and I take it home and I build a memory out of it and have that to keep with.
That's a really cool idea.
Oh, that's so awesome!
You
build a lot of. You build mostly little terrariums, right?
Yes, all different sizes. Depends on what type of jar I have with me, or it all depends, or whatever the inspiration is. But it can literally be a very small little jar, or it can be a ginormous 5-gallon pickler jar. It all depends on what you want to do. So
nice. That is a big jar, 5 gallons.
Yes, and those are the really cool ones to make a self-sustaining forever terrarium in, because they can go forever. And the bigger they are, the more plant volume you can have in there, the more fauna and flora, so you get a more sustaining environment for the overall.
Nice.
Well,
we got another guest.
It's Keni! Hello!
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Yay!
Sorry,
more terrarium experts. So to get started, if mods could throw up the link to that jar from Walmart. If you are not in the United States, find a jar that's close to that. I mean, the nice thing about that one is it has a wide mouth, so it's easy to reach in it, and it's cheap. It's $14 for a 2-gallon glass jar that looks pretty good. So cheap is good.
So Foxy, you were saying that or the bigger they are, the longer you can go without doing anything with them. So what would you consider a 2-gallon jar in terms of maintenance?
Well, as long as you set it up correctly, it literally can go forever, but you have to have the right fauna and flora in brain fart. It's been a long day. You have to have them in the same ratio to get along, to make sure that you have everything working, and it's not just the fauna and the flora, but also the water. You can't overwater it or underwater it. You need to have the right perspiration, the condensation, the rain period with the decomposition period, and all that works together to make a sustaining terrarium. But I think the ones that do the best, the longest living ones, that can go 100+ years, are the bigger terrariums. There is a gentleman that Kelly knows very well. He built a terrarium, I believe it was in the 70s, and he has not opened it yet. And still to this day, it's packed full of plants, and it is a huge sealed jar.
It pops up online every now and then. It's this cute old British man with these stick out little ears, and he's holding this great big terrarium that he's been opened in decades.
Yeah, it's the big round jar, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's huge. It's probably a 5-gallon jar, and it's got
about that, yeah.
And a big round body, and he's so cute.
And it looks to be mostly pennyworts in there.
It does look like a pennywort. Yeah, so it might be just one plant. I think he just put one sprig in it or something, and off it went. So pretty fun. So Kenny, can you tell us what kind of terrariums you like to make?
So I do bioactive terrariums when I'm building them. So that's basically what Foxy was saying. You know, they have fauna in them that will act as a cleanup crew and stuff. And so I typically use different species of isopods, and I'll also use springtails, which are probably two of the main faunas that you would use in a terrarium. Because they'll both, isopods will eat mold and any like fungus or decaying matter that you'll find in your terrarium from being too wet, maybe. And the isopods will also eat the same thing, but they'll also eat decaying leaf and plant matter. And then all of that breaks down into nutrients, which revitalize your soil. And that's how you're able to keep, closed terrariums for, decades.
Where do you guys like to buy your isopods and your springtails? Because I have not bought mine yet.
One of my most favorite places to buy them, if you're buying them, because I'd prefer to collect if possible. And you can just collect out in nature where you're collecting your mosses from. You can also get your springtails as well. You collect the native soil. Springtails just tend to show up, they'll be in the soil. And isopods you can collect from the leaf litter of the floor. But if not, you don't want to collect. I like to purchase my springtails and my isopods from Josh's Frogs. That's where I've had my most successful cultures from.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's also my go-to is Josh's Frogs, or like Foxy was saying, I'll also collect a lot of local isopods and stuff, and collecting pieces of wood and stuff like that, you tend to get springtails anyway.
So is there a minimum or a maximum of isopods for, like, say the project we're doing, the 2-gallon jar? Because I wasn't even thinking about fauna to put in mine.
So they'll likely control their own population based on the food source and stuff, but I would probably start with like maybe 10 dwarf orange or dwarf purple isopods, or some of the bigger ones like the dairy cow isopods. You can put 5 or 10 in there, and they will breed. And just through having food or not having food, they'll kind of regulate their population themselves.
Okay. So for the purposes of this stream, I've done some prep work on my jar. That is to say, I took the plastic off of the lid. I don't know what I'm doing at all.
Okay.
So I ordered a jar. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But so I ordered a jar from Walmart, and it came broken. So I don't have a jar.
Well, great.
Yeah, but I can. I'm here to help. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm not ready to make my jar either. This is kind of just our learning session.
Right. No, it's not really like a,
because we all have to buy things to. I mean, substrate materials and stuff we have to acquire. So we first have to learn what to do. That's why we have you guys on.
So I just kind of wanted to start from the ground up, like literally.
Yes,
from the
let's
substrate up.
let's start with substrate. Yeah, what do you guys like to use? Foxian? Maybe
well, if we are starting from the ground up, then we should start with the riparian or the gravel layer, which will be the first part of your jar.
Which is the key to any successful vivarium.
Drainage, right?
Yes, the drainage layer. So with the gravel layer, you want for your jar, you're going to want about 2 inches of depth, which will be good. You can do a little bit more, about 3. And with the gravel layer, you want to use bigger gravel. You can use sand. You can use charcoal. People use things like that. But I highly recommend you use something like just plain gravel, or you can use aquarium gravel. I like the larger bit of gravel. I'm sorry, I keep saying just because there's more space in between it actually itself, so it helps more with the evaporation aspect of it. I really need some caffeine, I guess.
So do I. It's all right. I say about every 4 words. It's all right.
Yeah.
So with the gravel layer, you just want to have nothing too small. Like some people do use sand, and sand is fine in like very small containers. And when I say small container, I'm like, if you find a clear one of these to make a terrarium in, then your gravel layer can be sand. That'll be fine. But usually you don't want to use sand because there isn't enough space in between the grains for it to evaporate out and create the correct rain cycle. So you want to use a larger grain size gravel for the gravel layer. On top of the gravel layer, you're going to want to use some type of barrier to keep your gravel layer and your soil out of each other, because once your soil gets into your gravel layer, it basically, your terrarium is ruined, because your soil will quickly become putrid and smelly, and no amount of springtails or isopods that you have in there can fix that. So you want a good barrier. I recommend any type of synthetic mesh, like a window screen, smaller grain, great window screen.
I use weed mat for it, like the weed mat you can buy at Home Depot.
That's
Oh.
yeah.
Weed
I have
mat.
a roll of landscape fabric. That's what I
That
have.
would work perfectly.
Landscape fabric is a good second choice. I like the mesh one just because it drains better. The fabric is fine as well. Water will stand a little bit longer on it, but it will eventually go through. So that one is fine as well. You want to make sure you cut that layer wider than the hole that you're putting it in. So wider than the jar. So trace it on the jar. So when you shove it in, it touches the sides and actually goes up a little bit. So none of your substrate can penetrate down towards the side when the water is seeping back down through your rain cycle. So you want to have a nice, secure barrier to make sure nothing can get down in between there.
But did you say multiple layers of the screen, or just one?
I just do one layer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
if you double or triple up on it, that's gonna reduce the amount of penetration for the water to seep through into the drainage layer.
Yes, especially if you're using something like the weed barrier fabric instead of the mesh screen.
And I've noticed that some terrarium builders, you can even use the gravel layer as part of the creative process. You can use a pretty gravel.
You can. It doesn't have to be ugly.
Yeah, like clown food gravel terrarium.
I mean, if that's what you're into.
Yeah, I mean, like
little gemstones.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, if you want to use like glitter rock.
Some people use marbles. You can use Leica, anything. Like
I've seen people use the flattened glass marbles you get from like the dollar store and stuff.
Oh yeah, the little pebbles. Yeah.
The shiny old fish, old fish.
Old fish bowl.
Gold, yep, here we go. Bowl.
For me personally, I like using stuff that's porous. Like I'd prefer pumice stone or lava rock, or like the clay balls and stuff, because not only does it act as a drainage layer, but then it also acts as like a something for bacteria and stuff to grow on, that the springtails will also feed off of in your drainage layer, because the springtails will make their way down there, and that'll act as a spot for them to breed and colonize, and then work their way back up into the substrate and terrarium.
Yeah, that's like their layer. Like if imagine them ants, that's like where they live, and then they come up to do their cleaning, and they come back down there. But they'll also harvest and farm their food in the drainage layer. So when you're making sure when you fill up your terrarium at the end with water, make sure you don't fill up your drainage layer all the way. You need space between the drainage layer and the substrate so it doesn't keep wicking, and so your springtails have somewhere to live and colonize.
Wait, say that again. So between the drainage layer and the substrate, you don't want filled with
the
water
soil going down into the rocks, right?
Okay. You don't want the soil going down into the rocks. That's why you have the barrier.
Okay.
But you don't want the water filled up to the soil level, because then the soil will constantly wick up the water. There isn't any room for the springtails to live and colonize, and then it makes yes. And the good rule of thumb is with watering your terrarium when it's time, at the end of it all, the first week is usually the adjustment period. So the rule of thumb for me that I go by is you place your terrarium where you want it to live in an indirect spot. If it's condensated all day long, if it's always wet, the glass, it's too much. You need to open it up and air it out. And the best way I do that is just keep drying the glass off with a piece of paper towel. And what you want it to be condensated in the morning in the sun, and in the evening. That means you're having a good rain or precipitation cycle going on. It's not damp all the time. The plants are being able to breathe, but not being overwhelmed all the time. Exactly. So they won't become just wet and moldy and yucky and choke themselves out. So in the morning, you want some condensation on the glass. In the evening, you want some condensation on the glass. It should be generally clear for the rest of the day. And if it's not clear for the rest of the day, then you've overwatered it. And you just open it up, let some evaporate out, try again, adjust it accordingly. Because you are going to have a little bit of a settling time in the beginning, just to make sure that you haven't overwatered, underwatered, make sure all your fauna is happy and everything's healthy.
Do you water before or after you add plants?
After.
Okay. And does it matter what kind of water? Distilled water or?
It all depends on what type of plants that you're keeping in there, but typically it doesn't. For me, I have not used distilled water in my terrariums because I collect all my plants from nature. So I've not used the distilled water, and I'm not replacing the water. That's the water that's going to hopefully stay in there for the life of the terrarium. So whatever minerals are in that water is only going to further fuel everything to be.
That's what I was
and through evaporation, it's going to naturally distill itself eventually.
Mm-hmm. Right, but now my water has chloramines, and so chlorine does not evaporate readily out of it. It also has no minerals in the water either. It's just pure carbonate. So I kind of wonder, should I pre-treat my water with something, also pre-mineralize it with something before I add it?
I would recommend so, yes.
Really?
I honestly haven't thought of it that way before because I've always been with well water sources, or I've always taken water from the source where I've been. So I have never had to deal with the chlorine or chloramine, but I would pre-treat it, and I would add some mineralization back in, especially if there's been any mineralization stripped out of it.
Yeah, I don't think I would add minerals because, I've seen a lot of people water their terrariums with distilled water because of water spots on the glass. Your soil contains minerals.
I would recommend the same. Probably just treating for the chloramines in it, and going from there, because your soil is going to contain a lot of the minerals that are lacking from the water itself. So you're not going to have to worry too much about mineralization.
I mean, think about your house plants. Like, I'm not like testing GH and KH of water for my house plants.
I can't keep houseplants alive unless I stick the roots in my aquariums.
I'm giving my house plants my old tank water, so it's already got all that.
There you go. Yeah. That's what I do.
So maybe that's what people can water their terrariums with instead, is their fish tank water. But I'm gonna have to do a test on that, because even when I've done my well water, which in PA was liquid rock, I never got spots on my glass.
As long as you don't miss the glass, I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah.
The initial evaporation period, you're leaving all of those heavy minerals in the drainage layer anyway. So it's not gonna, it's not gonna be mineralized water when it's evaporated and it's condensing on a glass.
True.
So it'll all be down left there for the plants to feed on.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's not an aquarium. It's different. Yeah.
Same thing but different.
But what do you guys use for substrate mixes? I know what Foxanne uses, but what do you guys both use?
So I do a variation of things. Like, a lot of times I'll use my own mix of what's considered AGB, which is Atlantic Botanical Gardens mixture. And that's what they use in the botanical gardens, and it's basically sphagnum moss, a little bit of sand mixed in, activated carbon or charcoal, and peat moss, I believe, and something else. And you can add like orchid bark chips, like the wood chips from orchid bark and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes a really like a nice nutrient rich, but also well aerated soil. So you're not going to get like you're not going to have problems with roots compounding and stuff. And that's also going to aid with the drainage and keeping the moisture levels down in the soil level. And you're not going to get root rot and stuff like that, or any funky soil because it's too wet.
Did you say also coconut fiber?
Yep.
Okay.
I didn't say it, but that's what I was trying. That was the one ingredient that I was thinking of that I had missed.
Any particular ratio?
You can use like the cocoa core or the soil, or you can use a mixture of the both. But
yeah,
peat moss isn't recommended as a soil base because it tends to break down really fast.
Yeah, and I'll also I'll use like leaves from outside. I'll crush them up and mix them in there, and I'll add like worm castings sometimes and stuff like that. And so that all adds to the nutrient rich soil for your plants and stuff. So.
And Brooklyn's making our dirt. So does this sound like a good recipe?
Why the aqua soil?
Yeah, aqua soils. I've used aqua soils mixed in with my terrarium dirt before, and it's just an added nutrient, and because most aqua soils have like iron and stuff like that in them that the plants are going to benefit from. So I mean, I've done that in the past, and there's what she's her mixture right here I think is perfect.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's a good mixture, and it's usually typically like 2 parts. 1 part soil, 1 part fine bark, 2 parts moss, like the sphagnum moss, 1 part, and little less than 1 part sand. You want it just to mix it up and make sure that it's not too compact. It's very loose, but you can still form it if you want to. It'll make a very good wicking drainage material for your plants.
And like builder's sand, like.
I prefer because I have it on hand. I use the pool filter sand. Some people say clay sand is fine. I prefer not to use that one because it does compact very much. But people also like to use the horticultural sand, like Brooklyn uses, and I find that to be okay. As long as it's a bigger grain sand, you're okay.
Yeah, and I personally like the general purpose sand that you can buy from Home Depot. It's like the 50-pound bag for like $5. It's kind of same price as pool filter sand and stuff, but it's got a larger grain size because there's a lot more variation in the grain size and stuff. And I just think it overall it looks nicer to me. So that's one of the reasons I use it though.
So we missed a question from Geek Boy, but Sarah had answered. He just wanted to know like a good starter amount of springtail culture, like 8 ounce or second 8 ounce or a 32 ounce, I guess is what is on.
It depends on the size of your terrarium, but for something like for the 2-gallon jar, an 8 ounce starter culture would be fine.
And if you plan on becoming a terrarium freak, just get the biggest jar and plan on feeding them for a while.
How long do they last in that jar?
To feed your springtails, you can either put like leaves in the cultures, or I've done like baker's yeast. I've put a little bit of baker's yeast in the springtail culture, and it forms a mold, and then they feed off of the mold and fungus.
Or I do brown rice. They like brown rice.
Yeah, brown rice works great too.
So I was gonna say something, but I forgot what. Never mind. I don't come to me.
I don't think I have any more dirt questions.
Now that's the tropical terrarium mix for that mix. Now there are other mixes like the open air cactus terrarium mixes, and there's also like the succulent mixes, but I'm not very proficient in those. I mostly just deal with the tropical terrarium.
Yeah, if you want to do a succulent, I have done, I guess, succulent gardens, you can't put a lid on them.
No.
Because they have to have a lot of circulation and they can't have any humidity. So, I mean, because you can do succulents like in a dish.
Yes.
You could do them in a closed jar, but with no lid. And I would use cactus mix, which you can just buy from Home Depot or lots of places, just like the advertised cactus mix. I think that's a lot easier than mixing up your own, because it's, unless you're going to like go crazy growing succulents, a bag of cactus mix is pretty cheap. So
the only rule of thumb I really know about those types of open air terrariums is that the drainage chiller in those needs to be double the amount than it is on a tropical terrarium.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because they really need to drain well.
For my purposes, I'm going with the closed tropical terrarium.
Yeah, I mean, because I've done succulent gardens before, quite a bit of them, like in bowls, and I did put like a big layer of rock at the bottom, and then cactus mix, and then I just didn't water them very often, except in the summer when they were outside. Then I would water them more often. But they need to drain really, really well. They need lots of open air circulation. So
they're like dry feet.
Yes, very dry feet. So like house plants, mosses, those are for closed terrariums. Things like cactus, sedums, jade plants, those would be for open terrariums. And they're kind of more like succulent gardens.
Gotcha. So Myrtle, do you have any questions before we move on from the dirt?
For the substrates, how much fluffing aeration do you want it to be before you water the plants? Do you want to press it down a tiny bit so there's not too big bubble pockets of air, or do you want it just to be as airy as possible?
Well, you don't want to force it down into.
Well, I just meant like a tiny compression so that it's all flat and all, or do it like, would that cause too much compaction?
It won't cause too much compaction, but like to push it into place and have it in place is fine. Because when you're planting your plants, you're going to move it around and it's going to fluff it up anyways. But it's going to push it right back down because it's just a very loose soil mix, and it'll fall into place just fine.
What I like to do is when I'm planting a terrarium is I won't compact the soil down, like push it down with my hand or anything. I'll throw it all in there and spread it out to my desired look and stuff, and then I'll plant it, and then I just rely on the water and gravity and just from the soil being wet from the water, just to kind of compact it down itself, and I just leave it at that.
You got to think of it like nature's floor. Like as the leaves fall, they're eventually all nice and fluffy, and then all the animals come along and trample them down, and they break down. And then they get smaller and more compact, and then you have the Dutch boars come down and eat them and poop them out and make them into dirt. And
yeah, and also speaking of
same thing happens in the terrariums.
Yeah, speaking of nature's floor and stuff, I also I would recommend adding leaf litter on top of your soil level, because that also helps with retaining moisture in the soil, and it also gives your springtails and isopods something to start feeding on.
Any particular kind of leaf litter?
I mean, as long as anything that you can use in an aquarium would be fine.
Yes, as long as it's especially leaf litter. Don't go picking the leaves off the trees, even if they look dried up. Make sure it's leaf litter off the ground, because the ones that are going to be already dropped, and that'll make sure there's no poisonous sap left of that tree that you can use. But typically, the safest ones are like oak. You can crumble those up. They really like those. You can also use the petalpa leaves if you don't want to use outside leaves, or the Indian almond leaves. You can bunch some of those up.
Leaves from beech trees are good too. And I used a lot of maple leaves in some of my stuff.
Or even like little acorn caps.
It's one that's readily available to me most of the time.
Okay.
And the acorn caps and stuff are pretty too, so it's decorative also.
Right.
I remembered my question.
Well, hold on. Let's first say thank you, Eric, for the $20.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
And then to Brookley's question about should she order, since she's ordering worms for her beardy, should she just go ahead and get some isopods and springtails too? Yeah.
I recommend it. You're going to get into terrariums.
She will for sure.
She's a bearded dragon, so she could do a beautiful vivarium for her
Yes, she
beard,
could.
which would be
Yes.
awesome. And then I think you definitely want the isopods, especially for that, and the springtails, because they will clean up the poop, right, Kenny?
Well, and so isopods won't do very well in an arid environment, which you're going to need.
Is it an arid? I don't know anything.
Yeah,
if anything,
so
they'll probably just be a food source, but
Mm.
temporary.
Yeah, but there are stuff like I've seen people use I forget the name of the beetle, but there's a type of beetle that you can use that acts the same way. Like they'll work as a cleanup crew and clean up like waste after the bearded dragon and stuff.
Yes. What is the name of that beetle?
Mark says I wouldn't use eucalyptus leaves. They are
Anyone got
water
any
repellent.
eucalyptus trees nearby?
No, I live in Indiana. There's no eucalyptus here, but I'm sure Mark has lots of them. So
Let me. Well, man, that means I can't pick the eucalyptus out in my backyard.
Don't take the food away from the
we don't have
koalas anyway.
those here.
The eucalyptus up here in New York.
Lady Rorschach says magnolia leaves are my go-to. That's a good choice.
Yes, that's
Magnolia
a good choice.
leaves are good, and the petals from the flowers will be a good food source for the springtails and isopods as well.
Yeah, I remembered my question. So, pre-wetting the soil mix. So, do you pre-wet the sphagnum and like this coconut coir comes in bricks? Do you soak it and wet it? Because I know the sphagnum, like you really have to like push it down and water
so
it wetted.
the sphagnum and the cocoa coir that come in the bricks like that, you have to wet it to break it up in the first place. So yeah, typically when you're making your soil mix, it's gonna have some moisture to it, just from having to break those up in the first place.
Yeah. So your terrarium mix can be just kind of damp.
Yeah,
Like,
yes, it should feel like soil, not like mud or anything like that. Like if you were to go outside and stick your hand down and pull up some grass, like it should feel similar to that moisture level, not anything more excessive than that.
Gotcha.
Just damp. Cool. Well, I'm gonna pause here. You guys continue. My dog, it's just a poop.
Got to.
Everybody poops.
That's right.
Just, dogs don't poop exactly when you want them to. They don't care that you're streaming.
Kelly's puppy is listening to its body.
Well, we can, because Kelly's got all of her plants. I don't have any plants, and in terms of terrestrial plants, I don't know a whole lot.
My favorite place to get plants is from the clearance section at Home Depot, and you get all of the. I forget the name of the brand. It's like Angel something, but it's like if you go to Home Depot where they have all their house plants, there's the little tiny like 4-ounce pots. Most of those plants are most of those are tropical plants, and a lot of those will do really well, like the ferns and stuff like that. A lot of those will do really well in terrariums, and that's where I usually get all mine.
And I don't purchase any of my plants. I source all of my nature, so I go harvesting, collecting.
Okay, so let's pretend I don't leave the house. Pretend for a second that I don't really want to go and get plants. Any websites you'll recommend that sell decent?
Josh's Frogs.
Well, okay,
Josh's
one-stop
Frogs
shop.
one.
It's always good.
But also some aquarium plants will work in your terrariums too.
Yeah,
so like any of the Bacopas work, the Anubias work, the Bucephalandras work. You can even get Java moss to go.
Really?
There, yes.
Yeah,
so
fun
there
fact, Amazon sword is actually an immersed plant and not an aquatic plant.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But they can super fastly
Mm-hmm.
take over your terrarium. So you want to watch with the swords. But like the pennyworts and the tripartitas, you can do those as well as.
I've got a Nubius nana growing in my vivarium for my Chihuahua gecko.
Nice.
So Brookley ordered some mini bulbitis, which we both tried in our aquariums, and it just it doesn't do anything, or it just ends up melting back. But it looks very terrestrial plant-ish. I don't know if you've ever used that one before.
I have not tried Bulbitis. I don't think I've ever found any naturally.
Oh,
They don't grow outside the water. All Bulbitis
Another thing
species
to
will grow outside.
consider too is if you are taking a plant that's been grown submersed, when you try to switch it over to growing terrestrially, it is going to melt back a lot, and you're going to probably think that it's dead. But give it time; it'll come back. Like my Anubias, for instance, it's Anubias nana, and it was grown, in an aquarium, and then switching it over to grow as a terrestrial plant. All of the leaves died off of it and everything, and it was just the rhizome, the base, and some roots, and then within like 2 weeks it had new leaves growing and now it's probably this big.
nice.
Or you
And I
can
know
do
that Bacopa will immerse pretty quickly too, without really messing around too much. Like it'll just go straight out of the water.
exactly.
I have some that are immersed already.
I was gonna say, if you just like basically ignore your tank for a little bit and just allow your plants to get out of hand and start to grow out, those are the ones you can put in your terrarium, and you shouldn't have too much melt back.
Yeah.
So one thing to be aware of is some plants get really giant.
Yeah.
So choose plants that have smaller leaves. And I mean, if you're doing a really giant terrarium, it's okay. But like, don't go pothos in a terrarium.
Yeah,
it's a big terrarium.
Yeah.
Leaves
So
and you have to pull it.
I have a Nubius Nana Petite. I've got Tripartita. I have the Tripartita Mini that I just got from Luke.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Work.
And I have various mosses.
Some of my favorite terrestrial plants are like tree ferns. Rabbit's foot fern is a really good one.
Yeah.
And Ficus plumelia.
Yes, that's one of my favorite.
Stuff. Yeah. It's like it looks like a tiny miniature like Baltic ivy, basically. It's a vining plant. And
it's much smaller than regular ivy, which also regular.
Yeah, I mean they're like pinky
vigorous.
nail. The leaves are like the size of your pinky.
Really tiny.
So
for ferns are beautiful. Lots of ferns are great choices, but be mindful the variety of fern you get. Some of them get really, really big. Some Boston ferns, the fronds will be like that big.
Yeah.
Phoenix ferns get really big too.
Yeah, so you just have to Google the variety of fern and see how big it gets. But there are lots of good little ferns. And if it gets too big, I guess you can just trim it back.
What's y'all's favorite teeny tiny fern?
I think mine would be probably rabbit's foot, or I forget the name of it. It's like bronze stem or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know if I have a favorite fern, but I have a favorite moss that resembles a fern, and that's the badge moss. I really enjoy that moss.
The what moss?
Badge moss.
Badge moss. Okay.
Yeah.
Another really beautiful plant is like some of the Salagenaria. Yeah, that one.
Laginella. I was just gonna say that. So anything
you can buy them. So, like sometimes they're called like rainbow moss and stuff like that. But in low light, they get a very blue metallic color to them, like blue and purple metallics on the leaves. And they look like they kind of look like a prehistoric plant, really.
Yeah. So
they're really
Laginella, they're cool plants. So they are a very, very ancient genus. They're from before the time of the dinosaurs. They are not a moss. They are not a fern. Right. They are their own thing. So there's only one genus in that. They're called spike mosses, but they're not true mosses. They don't have true vascularization. So they need damp environments, but they all have really tiny leaf-like structures. They're really pretty. They're easy to grow. And there's tons of different Salaginellas that look different. There's some that are gold colored. There's some that are the bluish, like Keni talked about. So there's tons of them. And you can I've seen them at Home Depot. I've grown them as houseplants.
Yeah. Home Depot sells them listed as rainbow moss.
Yeah, but there's lots of them. There's like a gold tips one. There's
I had the blue and purple one, like the rainbow moss one, and then I had another variety. I forget exactly what it was, but it was like bright red and orange, and it was when I kept it in the higher light.
Yeah.
Have
They
you
can
heard
look
of
really different, too.
dragon's tongue, Hemigraphis repanda?
So
No.
No, have not
Hemigraphis,
had that one.
it's Hemigraphis. So there's a couple different kinds of them. It's a pretty big genus. There's like purple waffle plants is a Hemigraphis. They like wet feet. Some of them will get bigger, I think. So they may outgrow a small terrarium. But I think they're a good choice to try. I know that Boost Plant sells them, but if you look up
Yeah,
Hemigraphis,
Berkeley ordered one.
it's
So
a
that's what I was
pretty
asking.
big genus. Like I've grown the purple waffle plant before. It
Yeah.
used to be back in the day they were selling them to as aquarium plants and they would rot in people's tanks because they will not go submersed. So yeah.
Yeah, Boost Plant does have a terrarium section that I haven't perused or anything.
It's a weird section though. Like I don't think that Boost Plant is that great of a terrarium shop. They're an aquarium shop that has a few terrarium things. I think
They're becoming a terrarium store, but they're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
I
That's
have
a
a place near me that's called Fannigan's. It's like a greenhouse, but they have. I mean, this place is huge. It's probably like the size of a small Walmart, but it's all plants in there, and then they have like 1/3 of the whole building is just for terrarium plants and stuff, and it's pretty awesome.
That's
You
nice.
guys are lucky. I know, like Kelly has some really cool plant shops by her. Kenny, you have that really cool plant shop. I live in north central Wisconsin.
If such a thing exists in my city, I don't know about it.
If it's not at like Petco or PetSmart, or if I especially order it, I can't get it. So that's why I really enjoy harvesting, like going out if the weather's. If you're able to do so, like today it's snowing, so obviously I'm not going to go collect any moss or anything like that. But I really enjoy going out and
I imagine you
the
learn a lot.
process of
You
do.
that too.
You go out there, you collect stuff, you come home, you research what you just brought home, figure out where it's going to go, what it does best with. But there are some
probably
tips.
research it before, though.
Well, yeah, you should, especially. Well, first of all, if you're going to collect in your local area, make sure you're allowed to do so, because not all areas you're allowed to do so in. But luckily, in my area, I am allowed to do
break the
such.
law. But,
yes.
Yeah.
In my area, we have a lot of we have a lot of like wildlife preserves in my area.
Yes.
And stuff, and it's highly illegal to collect anything from any of those areas. And then there's also a lot of like endangered plants that are in my area too. And like some of you get caught with some of those, and you're looking at a very hefty fine.
Yeah,
I know
that's kind of my thing. I go out into nature when I go out into nature, and I don't understand everything I'm seeing. If it's cool, I want to take it, but then I'm just like, should I take it? Can I take it? I tend to just not.
Yeah, well, it's best to know your laws before you go collecting the best you can.
When I was 5 years old, we went, like, my parents had a log cabin up on Long Lake, which is up in the Adirondack Mountains here. And we went on like a family vacation, and I was only like 5 years old at the time, and I picked this really pretty blue flower for my mom and brought it back to her. And apparently it was some endangered species of flower that the park rangers told them about before like going into the park and everything.
God.
And if they had, if we had gotten caught with it, it's like a $10,000 fine for having
wow.
for having picked that flower. And I was like, oh, it's a pretty flower I wanted to pick for my mom.
And now you have to destroy it just so you don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of comments. So Sarah, she said, scrolling up. So she mentioned the pink polka dot plant and the nerve plant. So pink polka dot plant is Hippoestes. It does like having really wet feet. I will caution you, it does get fairly big. I've grown it out of an aquarium and I've grown it in a container. So it will eventually outgrow a 2-gallon jar, but it does like wet feet and it is really pretty. Fittonias are a nerve plant, and Fittonia is an awesome choice. There's lots of different species of Fittonias and the nerve plant. They're really cute. You can separate one plant into lots of little plantlets. You can root cuttings of it. It's a good choice.
I have one of them in my vivarium upstairs that it's not like touch reactive, but the leaves fold up when the light shuts off.
That's
And then when the
mimosa.
light comes on, it comes back open.
Yeah.
That's Mimosa pudica.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Yep.
that can have
And it almost looks like a little palm tree. Like
that
the way
one can get pretty. That one can get pretty big because I've grown that one when I worked in a greenhouse years ago.
Yeah.
But Fittonia is like, well, let me get one.
I'm
And
seeing
also, like,
Cypress helferi.
umbrellata species and stuff are really pretty. Like some of those.
I'm seeing Cypress helferi as also listed as a terrarium plant on here.
Yeah, that one does pretty well because all Cyperus likes wet feet. So this is Fittonia nerve plant. And there's a few different genus or species within that genus. There's different colors. And then this one, here's another Fittonia. And
Begonias are a good option for some of the larger vivariums too.
yeah, this is because they creep, so they're good foreground. This is the pink polka dot plant. It looks really tiny now, but I can assure you it will get much, much bigger. So just be aware of it that you may end up.
And I'm not sure, Luke. Luke said, I thought Cypress helferi was the only true aquatic of the genus.
So there's lots of Cyperus. So Cyperus is the genus that papyrus is. And you can buy them in garden centers, but I'm here to tell you they get huge. So even the smallest Cyperus from a garden center is like baby tut, and it will get like 2 feet high. And then some of them, like the king tut varieties, I've grown them by my pond, and they will get like 8 feet high. So you just have to be careful what you use, which Cyperus.
And just a quick interruption off topic, since someone popped in chat to ask about hillstream loaches. If anyone on panel is familiar, I mean, I have hillstream loaches. I have reticulated hillstream loaches.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Mine have always been healthy. So the issue was they got 5 from an LFS whose water was filthy. So far has lost 3 to what appears to be a bacterial infection. They slowly turn white and die within a few days. The other 2 are healthy and swimming, but they don't know what to do, just in case they still have issues.
Is there any kind of hair-like protrusions coming off their skin? Because I've gotten hillstream loaches before that did the same thing from an LFS, and they ended up having epistylus. They faded. It looked like it ate all their color off of them, and then they passed away.
That sounds like
that's the parasitic, the little tiny worms that stick to them.
And it's very hard to see them. It literally looks like they might just have a little tiny bit of a skin uplifting. So it's very hard to see. You have to get very close.
And it gets mistaken for ick.
Yes.
Yeah.
But usually epistylus is like a secondary infection. Usually they're feeding on whatever bacteria is on that animal. As far as I ended up losing my hillstream loaches. They were too far into the disease for me to save them. So I did not find a effective treatment for them, but I did treat that whole tank with, what was it? Expel P. It was Expel P and ICX, and all the other fish were fine, and everything was okay in there. But I lost the hillstream loaches.
Oh.
So they're a little more
Yeah, I
fragile.
would just I would do the same thing. Would treat them with that stuff and just make sure the water's really clean and well oxygenated.
And
Yes.
quarantine tank. Put them in a quarantine tank.
And then after all that, what Geek Boy said, never buy
Yeah.
from us again.
Yeah.
That's a good. Yeah.
Yeah, those are my birthday loaches I lost. I lost them like
Aw.
3 days after my
Aw.
birthday. I was so little. I was so
Yeah.
upset.
Oxyan, there's a really good breeder in your state. His name is Marcel Worthrick. He lives in Madison, and he breeds.
Cool.
He's known for rainbows and rads, but he also breeds hillstream loaches. You should just get to know him in general because he's cool.
I should. I have a really good source locally for Borneo loaches. I need one for hillstreams.
Yeah, and
some quality breeders
from him, and they look fantastic.
The ones that I got were amazing, and I was just so upset.
You guys have a good source for native fish too. I mean,
Oh, Console, thank you for the super chat. You absolutely don't have to do that. We're happy to answer questions.
You, I mean, fingers crossed on your poor fish.
Yeah,
I mean,
hopefully you can get it figured out and something works because hillstream loaches are pretty cool. I like them.
Yeah, they're very cool, but they tend to be a little bit more sensitive.
Yeah.
So oxygenation.
I got mine from Dan, so.
And if you're a little bit nervous about it, you can even treat their medicine at half strength. But if you do so, you'll have to do it for double the course.
Yeah. I've tried the half strength treating things, and it's either all or nothing, like in terms of effectiveness. And
if they're either going to make it or not, that's truly what it is.
Okay, Myrtle, do you have any questions? You've been so quiet up there.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a photo.
I've been soaking all the information in for the build.
Nice. I've been taking notes.
Myrtle's not actually here. That's just a photo.
Someone sorry.
Go ahead, Kelly.
The chat. Someone asked, what about crypts? And I would say that crypts need very, very wet feet. You could do aqua soil in that.
Yes.
Because I've grown crypts in a jar before, and it's a kind of a different beast. Like, you don't want a drainage layer. You want them to have completely wet feet. So you could do aqua soil in a jar.
Kind of like a sundew terrarium. You would want to do the same for a crypt.
Yeah, sundew, Venus flytraps.
They're really wet feet.
Yeah. So it's just kind of a different game. And then you can also grow immersed plants from your aquarium that way too. Just aqua soil in a jar. But then I don't think you'd want to put the springtails in them or the isopods. It's just a different game. So.
And thank you so much, Heather, for the
You're
super chat. Just because you all are awesome.
Cool.
So, Myrtle, soaking up information. Any questions? Then?
All right. Yep. So I went outside today and I collected a Ziploc bag full of moss. If it shows. I'm not going to be building the terrarium for a while. Is there a way to keep that moss alive until we build the terrarium?
There is.
A week or two.
Yeah, it's a light and moisture.
But let's first start out. Where did you collect the moss from? Because there are some mosses where, like, it all depends on where you collect your stuff from outside. Because certain areas are better for collecting the stuff for terrariums than others. Like, if you're going to be doing escapes for the enclosed terrarium, you're not going to have it open at all ever. You want to collect stuff near water sources, like the mosses that grow on stream banks or over the rocks, or anything that grows in a very wet, damp environment underneath leaf litter would do good for certain plants if it's okay to collect those in your area. And once you get those, you already know that they're able to handle a lot of humidity, a lot of liquid. They're going to do fine, so they won't wither or give you a hard time starting up. So your terrarium can be pretty right from the get-go. But once you get them home and you're not ready to build your terrarium like me, sometimes it takes me months, I set up little shoe containers. And I will set it up kind of like just a ginormous terrarium, but just sloppy. I do the gravel on the bottom. I do a quick piece of mesh, and then I do that substrate. And then I lay my mosses, my plants on top, and I put a clear lid on top of that, and I leave it under a light or near indirect light And I open it every day just to let some air in. Or if I'm feeling extra lazy, which sometimes I am, you just drill the holes in there, let the air pass through, and then you just water them accordingly as they need so. So you have to like keep them in a contained environment to keep that humidity level up, to keep them happy, and they'll even start propagating for you. Like that's how I propagate mosses that I harvest from nature that I want to keep using in my terrariums. And also,
some
a big
mosses go
key,
dormant in the wintertime too.
they do. They will season just like they do outside, but just inside. Depending if you keep them in your room with you, they'll end up being temperate with you, or they'll end up being a little bit tropical and staying green. But if you actually put them to bed, like if you were to put all your terrariums out in a cool shed for the winter and let them do their dormancy phase, then they'll all fall asleep and they'll start waking back up in the spring again. So it all depends on like how you want to treat your terrariums. Some people only do them 3 seasons. Some people let them go all year long. It all depends on the tool.
All right. So what kind of moss is it, Myrtle? Any idea?
I don't know. It looks like a pincushion moss from what I've been Googling, but I can bring it up to the camera if that helps.
Here, let me. You got your green screen thing on.
I'll turn that off.
That won't help.
That looks like an aquarium.
All right,
There we go.
Oh, this is not a good light.
Might be pillow moss, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, that looks like cushion moss or pillow moss to me.
Yeah.
So, have either of you ever bought moss online? Well, there it is. Yeah.
I've never bought moss online, but I've bought this stuff. I forget what it's called, but it's like a dry mix that you basically moisten it for overnight, and then you can spread it on like you can spread it on driftwood or hygrolon, which is a grow fabric, and it starts to grow moss from that. So it's basically dried moss and fern spores. And actually, I can show you what it is.
And Mitchell, I'm pretty sure that's button moss. As long as you put that in that type of environment that I said, that it should do fine.
Okay.
And that's one of my favorite mosses because they're dense and they grow in like little buttons, and they'll just keep throwing little bumps all over the place.
Yeah, it looks nice and fluffy.
Yep, that's
it's actually firm feeling though, when to the touch when it's on the right substrate.
So this is what it's called, dusk moss, but it's a moss mix. It's just like this dry, powdery stuff. It's moss, dried moss, and fern spores in a sphagnum base.
Sweet.
Have you tried it yet?
Yeah, I've tried it. It works great. It takes a little while to start, depending on the conditions that you're keeping it in, but it works great for me.
That's cool. So I actually bought some moss on Etsy from a seller, and it came to me. It kind of surprised me. It's completely dry. It's not preserved moss. This is moon moss, which is supposed to be good for terrariums, but it's completely dry, and you're supposed to rehydrate it and then put it in your terrarium. So I don't know how that will work. I mean, I know moss can dry out and then grow, but
that one, they were forced into dormancy, so basically they were harvested after the season, and then they were dried out a little further. So what you do with those is you just take a Tupperware, fill it with water, like soak it down, let it absorb for a few hours, take it out. You can literally wring it out like a washcloth, and then put it on your substrate and let it just do its thing.
So do you think they'll be okay? I mean,
they should be okay. It'll take a little bit for them to. Yeah, they wake up really fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So should I get my mosses all soaked before I start building?
Yes, if those are the mosses you want to use in your build. Yes, you want to have them ready to go.
And if I don't use them up, then I need to like use the shoe boxes.
Yes, you might. Well, you can either make more and more terrariums until you use it all up, or you can start propagation trays to just keep it going so you can build more terrariums down the line. So waste not, want not.
Either way, I have to build more terrariums, right, Foxy?
Yeah, exactly. It's a never-ending cycle, just like aquariums. One is never enough.
And then eventually you'll run out of some materials to build one terrarium, and you'll have to buy more, and then you'll have excess.
Mm-hmm.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Exactly. Or you got your propagation game on so on point that you never have to buy again because it just keeps making more.
I guess. I actually am making 4 of these because I'm making Christmas gifts. So I did buy 2-gallon bags of moss. I bought sheet moss and this stuff called mood moss, which is it's pretty cool looking it through the baby, and yeah.
So I've gotta jump down in a minute or so, but I've got kids that gotta eat and babysitters gotta go home and all that stuff. But if you guys have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you, Keni.
Yeah,
I don't mind at all. I'm glad I could make it. You know, it's a hard time for me because it's like right when I'm getting home from work and everything. So
yeah, but we're so glad that you could join us, and I hope that you will make a 2-gallon terrarium with us. So before Keni leaves, I kind of thought it would be kind of fun if when we make our terrariums, and there's no deadline for this or anything, but that we could all, if you post it to Instagram or anything, you could post them to hashtag moist your terrarium.
Moist your terrarium. Okay.
Hashtag moist your terrarium. That way we could all see each other's terrariums.
And post them on, a lot of people now have the community tab, right?
Yeah.
So post them on your community tab as well, and wherever. And I totally missed this. Sorry, Eduardo, but Eduardo gifted 10 memberships.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, Eduardo, he's such a
10
sweetheart.
minutes ago, but it doesn't show up on StreamYard, and I was staring at StreamYard and missed it. So thank you so much.
Off topic a bit. The stream aquarium that I was scaping the other night on my live stream, I've added water to it.
All right.
Awesome.
Nice.
I'm so excited for that. I missed your stream, but I saw you posted pictures of it, and it looks really cool. Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, let's see if the chat has any questions for you, Keni, before you go. So Sarah says that she has ordered moss from Amazon. It was quality from a small company. That's cool. Eduardo says, yes, Kelly, perfect for terrariums. So that's good to know.
And we do have time for those who can't stay because Austin is not streaming. So
yeah.
I'd
love to stay up longer. It's just I've got,
I get it. Kids' life. I definitely know what it's like to have a toddler.
Yeah, got a toddler and a baby.
Yeah, you
a toddler and a baby. Yep.
Oh my God, that's tough times.
Yeah.
A 2-year-old and a 9-month-old.
Mm-hmm.
So Oinky asks. So first of all, thank you for the wonderful tutorial. Not to ask a stupid question. No stupid questions here, Oinky. Is blasting sand in a terrarium worth a try, or is it too coarse? Is that blasting sand like the Black Beauty blasting grit? It comes in different grain sizes. I would think it'd be okay.
It would be. I would say it's okay, but I would say use less than you would sand because it's a bigger grain size. You wouldn't need as much.
Yeah, I generally agree with those statements.
He's tired.
I
concur.
So Eduardo says I also use air plants in my terrarium. So air plants are in the genus Tillandsia. I have grown these before. They do need good airflow.
Yeah,
So
they don't like to be wet constantly.
Yeah.
They will rot and die.
Yeah.
So is
if
it an
you're-
open air terrarium that he has them in?
Well, I mean, you could use like those terrarium setups that have like the fans in them and the misting
Oh yeah.
fans integrated. That would be a
Yeah.
better choice, I think, because otherwise they're not quite happy.
So just for the hell of it, before I go, sorry to interrupt you, but before I go, I can bring you guys upstairs and show you my terrarium or my
yeah.
excuse me, my bioactive
Hell yeah.
Vivarium.
And Console, thank you for becoming a member.
All right, I'm gonna
And
just
Michelle, thank you
Awesome.
for the $10 super chat. Thank you for my mug and stickers. That's right. She won a mug from the giveaway, the 2000 sub giveaway.
So Zenny says, wait, we're supposed to feed our kids? No wonder they're
Yeah.
always so cranky.
They gotta eat sometimes, especially when they get older.
But when they get older, they also just find food.
Oh yeah, they just forage and clean out the pantry and the fridge.
They'll have no food left.
We lost him, or is he switching devices?
Possibly.
You'll let him back in.
We've all hit the wrong button on occasion.
Yeah, definitely happens. Okay, so sealing this jar or closing it off, the way this jar is, it looks like the lid just kind of sits on there like a
Yes.
cooking pot.
This
Do
is
I need
kind
to
of
do
like a
anything
cookie
else?
jar. Yes. Now, if you want it to be a totally sealed, self-contained ecosystem, you are going to have to put a barrier to make sure that no liquid escapes the jar. So my cheapest, most tried and true go-to for this is just a piece of saran wrap with a rubber band and a glass marble in the middle to weigh down the plastic to make sure the water always drips back down into the container.
Okay, gotcha. And I saw, I think Geek Boy actually made a silicone
Yes.
O-ring or gasket for his.
Now, if you're fancy and you have a container that has a gasket already, you're lucky. Otherwise, you can use like a piece of rubber to seal it as well. But if you're not getting a tight seal, especially if it doesn't have that latch action, you really want to use that saran wrap with a weight in the middle. And I use a clear glass marble just because it doesn't obstruct from any light.
Do we have to, or can we just water them?
I mean, you can water them, but then they're not self-contained.
I guess I don't care.
I
if
like
they're
self-contained because that
self-contained.
means less work on me. And yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess I'm okay with once in a while watering them. Because
So-
you have to once in a while trim them too.
Well, honestly, these terrariums are each their own unique individual. So Kelly, you may want to play in yours more often than Steven wants to play in his. So
True.
you can leave yours open, but you'll have to monitor yours more closely because you're not sure how much seepage your jar lid will create,
Right.
how often you'll have to water it. So that's just the only thing. You always be like, well, how much do I need to water it? When do I need to water it? But eventually you'll learn its habits. Whereas Steven is like, I'm putting plastic on there and I never have to worry about it again.
And done.
Because it's not that I don't want to worry about it; it's that I don't want to forget. I forget
Yeah.
things. Like
Yeah.
it goes out of sight, out of mind for a while until I see this plant's looking sad and dried up. I'm like, oh,
So
yeah. I
Ken,
should
Well,
probably
if
think about it.
If I did that with all my terrariums, I would spend way too much time watering them.
You have a
So.
lot of
That
terrarium.
looks nice.
Kenny, that
That
looks
is beautiful.
awesome. I see lots of variegated ficus in there. What kind of ferns
Yep.
do you have?
These are I forget what they're called. I believe they're called tree ferns. I'm not sure what type actually they are.
They look like a nephrolepis. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of different nephrolepis ferns. And
Very pretty.
And then the white variegated plant is the Ficus pumila variegated. That's very pretty. That's a cool plant. I've got some of that.
How long did it take for all that to grow out like that, or did you kind of start it like with a bunch?
This here is umbrellata.
Nice.
So this is about 2 years old.
Nice.
Nice.
Do you
That's
have a
pretty
mister in there or a fan or
So I run a Mist King system on. This is a custom built, by the way. I built this
I can tell.
myself.
Yeah,
Sure.
I can tell it's very fancy and well done.
Kenny, you're
Like,
so
Beautiful.
good at building
And
things.
then it's got vent holes cut out in it.
sweet.
And I also got, I'll lift this up a little bit if I can. It's also got fans over the top of the vent holes.
I love DIY, but I can't see myself doing this. Crazy.
Nice.
Very
So,
cool,
I
though.
mean, you could do tillandsias in this one because there would be proper ventilation.
Mhm.
Quit hassling me, bro.
Oh, there's a critter.
Oh,
So
he
the
ran off.
critter lives in here.
Yeah.
Aw.
And there's my, I don't know if you guys can really see it because of the shade, but there's my, yeah, the Anubias.
Anubias. Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
So it doesn't get a whole lot of light in there.
No, not at all.
I don't need it.
No, they
Speaking of
don't.
light, what kind of light do you have up there?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm running two 48-watt power compact lights now. The CF, the grow lights.
Oh, CFLs.
Yeah.
Those are still a thing? Or I guess that one's probably old, huh?
But that's what I run, and it works great.
Nice.
As you can see, it grows plants really well.
Mhm.
Like
You don't need to get fussy with plant lights for
Yeah.
house plants either.
like that's my canopy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, am I going to put my 2-gallon jar on a windowsill, or am I going to just put like a desk lamp with a grow light bulb?
See.
Well, what do you want?
Ooh, critters.
Do you want it on a desk with the light, or do you want it in a windowsill with indirect light?
Well, I guess would it depend on the plants I want to do? I mean, I have one place for a windowsill, like one place to put it, but the light is not all that great. Like it's southern facing window. There's a little bit of shading from the carport, so I'm not sure.
Good though, because the thing is, if you get too much direct sunlight on a jar of plants, it's going to heat up and cook.
Exactly. So you want the indirect sunlight. So a southern facing window is perfect for terrariums. Now the shading from the carport might not be ideal, but they don't need a lot of light. So as long as they get just a few hours of light a day, they'll be fine.
I should probably clean that window too.
And so here's
help.
my substrate. Is I have the drainage layer ends right here.
Use the leca, I see.
Yeah, it's the clay balls, and then there's a fabric, and then this is my soil up to here.
Nice.
So these substrates, they're not meant to be changed out, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
They're
and
meant to
I
be
just
forever.
kind of replenish it. Like any of the plants that might die from being shaded out, they'll fall down. You know, the isopods and stuff will eat it and break them down into nutrients, which will go back into the soil.
And you can
add
litter.
I have a drainage tube here, so I can drain my substrate layer or my drainage layer, so I can drain it out.
Nice.
And I run a Mist King system on it.
That's so cool.
That looks fancy.
What's really cool is if you have like a really, really old terrarium, you can actually see the process of dirt being made. Because over the time, your substrate just gets thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker with all the plants decomposing and all the fauna breaking them down with the decomposition cycle, and then it's going back up feeding further plants. It's just, as a nerdling at heart, that's so cool for me to see.
But yeah, so that's my vivarium for my Chihuahua gecko.
It's beautiful.
Cool.
Very, very cool.
So Ethan says, "Dang, Kenny, that's a friggin' jungle in your house."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Geek Boy says, "I was thinking of cutting down the spare 90 I have into a rimless paludarium. Do it."
That'd be really cool.
Ivy.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Beautiful.
Everything is very lush and green in there. Like I don't see anything that's suffering.
Yeah.
Plant wise.
I still have an 18 by 18 by 18 exoterra tank I need to escape, and I don't know how I'm gonna escape it because I don't know what I want to live in it yet. So
this one is This is 18 by 20 by 36.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So that one's a lot bigger. Mine fits
Yeah.
on my new rack. Doesn't need a standalone in the corner.
Oh, Keni, did you say what critters live in there besides the decomposing crew? Do you have like lizards in there, or frogs, or
Yeah, there's a Chihuahua gecko,
oh, the Chihuahua gecko? Cool.
which I was trying to get him out so you guys could see him. I showed him a little bit in the very beginning when I opened it.
Does
But
he
he's
eat the isopods and stuff?
he probably does. I haven't noticed because they breed so prolifically in here. Like these are the dwarf orange isopods, and then there's like you can see there's babies all over the place.
Nice.
And then there's some springtails in there, the little white guy moving.
And Sarah was asking, do we have to use that specific jar? No. And in
Use
fact,
what you have.
I mean, whatever you can get, we were recommending the jar because it's cheap and it's in the US at least, it's pretty readily available if you don't have one already.
Yeah.
And then a must-have is a lock because I have a kid that likes it.
Oh my god! Yeah, must have. So is your kid trying to get up into everything, trying to open things up? I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, he'll push a kitchen chair around the kitchen and use it to climb up on the counters and get whatever he wants and stuff.
Just like me.
Just like Jenna now. Yeah, her own schedule.
But yeah, so I'm gonna hop down, guys.
All
Thank you,
right, Kenny,
Kenny.
thanks for coming out
All right, thank you,
and
Kenny.
showing us your terrarium too.
It's nice hanging out with you, Kenny.
Later, guys.
Bye.
Awesome! Wow, so inspiring. Because
That was gorgeous.
Yep.
Mhm.
yeah, so inspiring. I love the idea of finally being able to grow houseplants again that Fat Kitty can't destroy.
Locked up.
They're in a glass box.
Mhm.
But if you're gonna put your glass lid on there loosely, can Fat Kitty knock that lid off?
I don't think he'll care.
Because that
He's not
lid,
that-
I mean, it just sits
Yeah.
on there.
I don't know. He was eyeing up those plants pretty hard when you weren't unboxing them, so he might just slap that jar off that cookie jar or the lid off the cookie jar and get in there.
We'll have to see. He, he's not a cat who knocks things off the counter. He just really hates plants. Hates them.
No, he thinks they're delicious.
He's gonna see those
So
plants and he's
true.
just gonna like headbutt the jar until it falls off.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he really likes to eat the bunny's hay. He's a weird cat.
Gracie's the same way. She eats a lot of weird things that you wouldn't think a cat would eat.
Yeah, today Fat Kitty ate some of my rice. I'm like, why are you eating my rice?
Gracie will choose rice and noodles over meat all day long.
Cats.
Someone asked earlier about dubia roaches in a terrarium. I would not be allowed to have like
Yeah.
pet roaches or like intentional roaches in the house.
Yeah,
Intentional roaches.
Yeah, this is a roach-free zone. And also, these terrariums are, one of them is going to be a gift for my mother. And Dot Foreman is not allowing a roach in her house. As is, like, I think I can get away with springtails, but isopods, if she sees an isopod, she's done.
Just tell her they're roly-polies and they're harmless.
No, she's not going.
Isopods aren't freaky. They kind of stay put. They want to be up in that filth anyway.
And some of them can be outrageously expensive. Like I know there's like a certain trio I've been looking at. They're like 3 for $500. So that's why I don't have them yet because they're so expensive.
No.
But
No.
I'm okay with my dairy cows and my rubber duckies at the
The
moment.
rubber duckies are cute. And then
They're so cute.
And then on the Discord, Mike posted some really cool looking isopods.
There's so many cool ones. There's even
Yeah.
24 karat ones like Lady Di Shrimp, but roly-poly edition or isopod. So there's
They're
so
They're
many
easier
cool
to keep
versions.
too than
They're
than
like the
certain
shrimp. They're like
Mhm.
the shrimp of the terrarium world. You really make it your thing.
Mhm.
But Dot Foreman does not want that. So that's that. I think I'll put just springtails in it. And
Springtails are a must for a healthy environment, but you can always get the black ones so she can't see them, or the gray ones. I don't recommend the orange or white ones because they're a little more obvious.
Are springtails the little things you see hopping on top of your aquarium water if you have floating plants?
Sometimes they can be, but normally not. Those are usually a type of floating
aphid or something. I forgot the name.
Yeah, it's a type
Aphids
of
or something.
yeah, it's a type of aphid, but it's a they call them a mite. Goodness gracious. But no, those aren't springtails.
Gotcha. Okay.
You can feed springtails to your fish, though, if you have an overabundance of them. You can collect them in the water culture, and your fish will eat them. But they don't typically like to live on the floaters in the water. That's way too much of a wet of an environment for them.
Yeah. I just see a lot of those on my topless aquariums. They like to hop around.
Mm-hmm.
I had an immersed plant get infested with aphids, and I had to rip it out and throw it out because, like, you can't.
They're so hard to. Yeah, soapy water. You can't do that.
No,
deploy ladybugs in your house.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So I just ripped it out and threw it out, and that seemed to take care of the problem. There are other plants, just wasn't worth it. It's like in my pond, if it gets infested with something, what can you do? I mean, I don't want to harm the fish. So Zen says, not going to put roaches in my house on purpose. I already want to burn the whole thing down when one of those wood tree roaches gets in. You live in Houston. There's a lot of roaches down there. I live in the north where we get frost. Fewer roaches.
We got year-round roaches down here.
Yeah.
And they get big.
I can't live there. I can't handle roaches.
And then some of them, they like to fly around.
I mean, I complain about the cold weather a lot. I mean, you're going to hear more complaints as the months go on, but I am grateful for that. Jenna says there will be no roaches in our house. I live in a room with a roach.
Correct.
Hey, girlfriend. No roaches. So, but Geek Boy says, why not ladybugs in the house? They are slightly poisonous, and the cats, I think, would try to eat them. They're dumb. Cats are not. They're just dumb. So I threw that plant out. So Dolbex asks, if you want a slope terrarium, does the drainage layer need to go all the way up to the front? I'm thinking of having some sand and an open area at the bottom front. Good question.
You can do sand in an open area at the bottom front, but you kind of really want the drainage layer to go all the way underneath the substrate layer, all the full way. You can have sand in the very front of the drainage layer if you want that certain look, but just know that it's not going to release the water as easily for the precipitation as the gravel will. But as long as you have the sand, if you can make sure that the sand doesn't penetrate the gravel, so maybe do the gravel and then some screen and then the sand and then screen both tops of that off and then do your substrate on top of that with some more sand to cover the barrier layer, that'd be okay. But you need the drainage layer to go all the way across the bottom for whatever the substrate you're doing on top, whether you slope your substrate or not. The drainage layer, you don't slope. That should be an even keel.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to be fancy with mine. This is total beginner, never done it. So
I mean, I'll probably slope my substrate because that seems pretty common. So Foxanne, I've seen a lot of Instagram videos where with the moss terrarium, they take some mud and build up the sides into sides. What are they using for mud? Is that just ordinary mud?
That's the clay type mud, so it's a really thick mud to begin with, and they just make it a real thick paste kind of and slather it on there, and they just stick the moss to it and hope that the moss holds. But it doesn't. Although their videos are videos for a reason, because they can make it look how you want it to look, but it's not always going to stay. If you want to do it that way, then you're gonna have to get a little bit more fancy and use a little more structure, not just mud. You might want to use maybe some sticks that you can stick the mud to make it stay, or some type of mesh. Then you can smear your mud on a gradient, and then get your moss to stay better. But otherwise, you're just gonna grow, and eventually, under its own weight, it's gonna fall off.
Are you telling me Instagram is lying to me?
They're not lying about the picture. They're just lying about what happens after the picture.
Yeah. It looks fine for the photo, but in a week or so later, when it starts gaining a lot of weight or when the mud gets too wet from the precipitation, it's just going to slide up and fall into the jar.
Are you saying that Kim Kardashian is not flawless complected also?
Allegedly. Oh, hey, Myrtle, you're not late for a class or anything, are you?
No, today's been canceled.
Oh, sweet.
They did just in honor of this stream.
Just for
Oh, very nice.
So, Brookley, what did you answer? Cut up sphagnum moss, mix with aqua soil and water until you reach the right consistency. What are we talking about? What was that an answer to, Brookley?
I'm not sure.
Was that to make the walls? I don't know. We were talking. Help us out, Brookley.
I don't know. Me and Brookley are going to build our terrariums together. There'll probably be scotch involved, and
will there be a video?
There will be a video.
Yeah, some of us have a terrarium building date.
Yes, Foxanne and I have a date coming.
And Dee Dee.
There will be a video of that, right? Will
So
Brian be the cameraman for that one?
What? So that date is going to go down next week because I'm taking the whole week off of work. I'm oppressed by my job. I need a break. So let's see. Other questions?
Can filter media bags serve as the mesh layer between the drainage layer?
Yes.
Yeah.
They could because they allow the water through well enough and they won't allow the substrate through. As long as the substrate can't easily work its way through it, it'll be fine. And as long as the water can work itself through it rather easily, it doesn't puddle and sit there too long, that'll be okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure I have some window screen that was rated for the no-seums or whatever you call those.
You want to make sure that it's the synthetic kind, because if you use the metal kind, it's going to rust and break down really, really fast. So you want to use the synthetic plasticky kind. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I do have to check on that.
Yeah, and I'm going to use landscaping fabric just because I have a whole roll of it.
That's really good, but just as a precautionary layer, I would just puncture a little bit extra holes in it with just to make sure the water wicks down or gets down through it. Because I know it will go through eventually, but I'm a nervous Nelly, and I would like to make sure that if my roots don't want to be in that water, they don't have to be, so that water goes away. So
I use it in my planters, and it drains pretty well. But I can take a knitting needle and poke a few.
Yeah. There's also different grades of it too, so maybe I just have the one that's really, really, really good.
Mine is pretty permeable because I line all of my outdoor planters with it, and they drain crazy well.
Yeah, it'll wick off the fabric well for me, but it won't go down through the fabric well, so I have to add extra. So there's different gradients.
I will test it under the tap and make sure it passes through. But
that's your next short.
Okay.
Your next short. Oh yeah. Well, has she done a short? Sort of.
I have not.
That'll be your first short.
Wow. What a bang to start with. Kelly draining mesh. Wow, there's riveting content.
3,000 views right off the bat.
You never know.
You know, I think that the more work you put into a short, the less views it gets.
That is correct.
Yes. Yes. Just like I just put up, I literally just like, wow, look at the size of this egg clutch, and I put it up and I got 2.9 thousand views. But I worked at like my stream video of my beautiful little Terrarium with my little things in it, and I think I had like 62 views on it.
Fair, Foxanne. That lady snail worked real hard to lay that clutch.
Yeah, like that thing was like 6 inches long. That was a big clutch.
How did that fit in a snail?
Well, I had to break it up to put it in this little incubator. So it's in here. I'm trying to make more of them right now. So they'll be hatching on the next day or two.
Nice.
But it was ginormous. I had to break it up to fit it in there.
Oh, thank you, Jimmy. And that's because we have Foxanne. She's magic. I'm going to try over winter months Jimmy, I think that's an awesome idea. I think this is a fun project. It's a cheap jar. You can buy clearance plants. I think this is
You
why
can even use a pickle jar if you want to.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
This is a good economical project and lots of fun. So
Hey,
that's awesome.
Kelly, speaking of jar.
Speaking of jar.
Did we have a jar?
Well, I was thinking we would do a giveaway of another jar, and I will include so first of all, I will order the jar from Walmart, and then I will mail to you a bag of homemade substrate mix, and I will cut out a piece of landscaping fabric, which I will test first and make sure it's suitable. And so you can start your own terrarium. All you need to do is you need to come up with some gravel, and you need to find some plants. But it's a starter kit, so you won't have to mix your own substrate, and you won't have to buy your own jar. I'm sorry, this is only available in the United States because I can't mail dirt to other countries. It's just not legal.
It's illegal.
But
it's not the dirt itself; it's the things that are in the dirt.
Yep.
The microorganisms, yes.
Right. So, but maybe it'll encourage someone to build a terrarium who was on the fence. So,
does anyone have an update on Mary Page? Someone, Craig is asking.
Well, I heard from her yesterday, and she said that her neck was a little sore, that she slept on it wrong, and her neck was a little sore. So she's just been laying down and trying to take it easy and make sure that it gets back to comfortable. Because right now it's like really sore. So the last I heard from her. So I'm wishing her well.
Yeah.
Oh, but I didn't know Mary was hurt. Ugh, that's not fun.
It's so annoying. Have you ever gone to bed and woke up and you're like, oh, I'm broken?
Yeah, I'm like, what is
Just from
to me when I was
sleeping.
young too.
Just
like
from sleeping.
Teenager.
Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah, my neck would be ruined for several days from that.
That's the worst feeling. Oh, poor me.
Well, I've had C-spine surgery, so I know a neck ache.
Yeah,
I think you do. I think you got us all beat there. Oh,
Definitely.
geez.
You guys will get through it.
Yeah. Oh.
So what's the hashtag? You want to use the Instagram hashtag you suggested for practice?
Moist your terrarium.
All right.
Nice.
You got to spell terrarium correct, kids. It's tough.
It's R.
Yeah.
ARIUM. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying to type it into the thing. This thing. StreamYard giveaway.
Sarah is going to post the link to the short of my crab enclosure to the community tab. Well, that's exciting. Crabs are very cool. So moist your terrarium. Terrarium has 2 R's.
3.
Yeah. 2 R's together and then 1 by itself.
That's right. So US only, but you can play for non-US people. I'm not playing for anyone because I'm giving it away. That would be silly. Also, I'm not opening YouTube.
All right, here come the hashtags. 8 entries so far. 13 now. Just jumped. There we go.
Yeah. And I'm sending Myrtle substrate too. Because how are you supposed to mix this up in a dorm? I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The only sizes I could find were like 5-pound bags of each, or like a 20 ounce of something, and you don't need this much sphagnum moss for 1 terrarium.
Right. And I will say, if you don't want to commit to buying your own substrate ingredients, Josh's Frogs does sell a gallon of it for $20 on Amazon too.
Yes.
It's the ABG.
You can have it in 2 days if Amazon's good to you.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
So a gallon of it, you could probably do a few of those jars, right?
A gallon? A couple.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, 3, maybe.
Oh, well, how thick should so you said like 3 inches for the gravel. How thick should the dirt be?
You want the dirt to be equal to the gravel.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you're going to have a good bottom layer. But also, if you're looking to make your terrarium lighter, say like you're me and you're not able to lift things that are that heavy, you're able to make what's called a false bottom. Now you can take like a little cup. Let me see. So yeah, you can use one of these. I'll use this for an example. So just to save some weight in the bottom, you can take a cup like this and punch a whole bunch of holes in it. And then you put this in the bottom and you fill gravel around it. And this will still act like a water reservoir space, but you don't have all those heavy rocks in this space. And this will help make your terrarium just a little bit lighter with that drop bottom, the false bottom.
Nice.
I use those for my bigger terrariums, just so like I'm accident prone, so I can move around a little better when I have to.
And leca and pumice are both really lightweight choices. So if weight is a concern, those are good options.
And if you don't have a shelf that might be the strongest, just you need to get it as light as possible.
Yeah, I'm clearing off a shelf in my office for these, and it is not a very good shelf. So
you mean your office?
My office. I'm shoveling out my office this Thanksgiving. I'm tired of it being the catch-all dump. I spend 8 hours there a day. It should be nicer. So cleaning it out. It's gonna have terrariums.
Sweet.
Mark.
Back to the Kardashians.
So Vibes asks an interesting question. Can you put mushrooms in this terrarium? Can you culture mushrooms? Have you heard of that?
I have not heard of culturing mushrooms. I mean, now you could get a nice mycelium layer growing in it, which is the actual structure of the mushroom and of the plant, the organism itself. And the mushroom is the fruit of the plant, the flowering part. So you could get a nice mycelium layer growing in there, but if you don't have it in enough dark, because mushrooms really like that dark dampness, you're not really going to get them growing in there too well. Now, if you do get mushrooms starting to flower and bud in there, you're either A, way too damp, or B, in the dark too much. So you can get the mushrooms going if you want it, but typically in a healthy terrarium, that's going to be too much for the other plants.
So for house plants, there is a species of mushroom that pops up a lot. It's called Coprinus leucocephalum. So sometimes if you're looking at your house plant and you see little yellow mushrooms, that's very common. They're Coprinus leucocephalum. They're not harmful. It just means you have a really good mycelium network. You have a really healthy soil. Things are good. Maybe that could pop up in a terrarium. You can't plan for it. You can't culture it. But if that happened, I would assume it's not bad because it's not bad in houseplants.
Yeah. Like you can't actually take a mushroom and plant it because that won't make it grow.
No, mushrooms. Yeah, so the mycelial network that Foxanne talked about is the vegetative portion. So it's just doing mitosis. And then the mushroom itself is the fruiting body that's doing meiosis, which is what makes the gametes. So the spore and the egg that will unite to make a diploid organism that will create another mycelium. So it's really hard to plan for that. And I don't think you can like put shiitake spores because it would be too humid. Mushrooms usually need some airflow, even with the mycelial network.
Because they're such a soft body, they're prone to fungusing. And mushrooms are very short-lived naturally. Mycelial network will extend for eons, but the flower, the fruiting body itself only lasts just a mere day or sometimes just a few days.
And the mycelium is far bigger, far bigger. But that Coprinus leucocephalum, if you got a little yellow mushroom in your terrarium that just popped up, I wouldn't worry about it because it's not a problem with houseplants. So let's see. Do we have any other questions? Or should we do the giveaway?
Yeah, we've got 33 entries. I'll just say last call for anyone who wants to win the 2-gallon glass jar and some dirt to go with it.
All aboard.
Hashtag waste your terrarium.
I mean, you just have to put your faith that I made good terrarium substrate because it's homemade. Maybe it'll suck. You gotta take.
I have faith in you, Dr. Kelly.
Okay. I'm gonna pay attention to Foxy's recipe.
It sounds like Brooklyn already made the same recipe and added some aqua soil to it.
There you go. I'm not gonna put aqua soil in this though. I'm not gonna waste my aqua soil. So.
All right. Well, yep. I'm not seeing any more. Lady Diane, the hashtag is moist your terrarium. It's on screen right now if you're able to look.
And it is for a jar from Walmart. And I will mail some sand and a piece of barrier. You need to provide your own plants and your own gravel. And you too can have a terrarium.
Matt, you might have to pull over for a second and type, but hurry.
maybe Stewie can type it.
With the StreamYard tool, it's pretty much out of my hands. I can't add people. I can't delete people. I can't even see the list of people who are on or entered. So
Very basic.
That's what we're gonna do for FIshFam Christmas. Is by default the StreamYard giveaway tool, just because it's easy. It can be consistent across the giveaways. And it's, seems to be working without issues. Says,
I bet Eco Complete would do well as a drainage layer. I would rinse it really good first. I wouldn't want that nasty Eco Complete liquid in my terrarium.
Yeah, they think that would be too much, create like root burn and such, too much nutrients.
But rinsed Eco Complete is pretty much just gravel.
Yeah, it's rocks.
You could use fluorite too. Fluorite is pretty much just calcined clay.
Eco Complete is so much easier to rinse though than fluorite.
I don't think that rinsing matters with the terrarium bottom layer though. I mean, you're not doing water changes on it. It doesn't matter. Eco Complete rinsing is because it has all that gross juice on it. I had never used Eco Complete before
Fluorite
I was in Chicago, and it was disgusting. So gross.
Fluorite has a little bit of nastiness on it too, but I guess it's probably not as like juicy as the Eco Complete bag.
It's so gross. Just use aqua soil. It's way less gross. Geek Boy says, got about 100 pounds of fluorite. You could use that, I think.
Just rinse it first. Make sure there's nothing on it.
Yeah, I figure just keep it simple for the bottom layer, right? I like pea gravel, or think I should go bigger than the pea gravel?
Pea gravel is great. Pea gravel would be a good one.
That's
you
what
don't
I
need to go bigger than that.
Cool.
But now every area's pea gravel varies in size if you buy it from Lowe's or Home Depot. But if it's actual pea gravel size, it's perfect.
Like the size of a pea, right?
Yes, if it's actually pea-sized gravel, it's perfect.
You need to get a pea from your freezer and compare it.
And if you're about 3 times bigger than that, you're in Texas.
All right, so we have everybody in here. Yep. So Lady Diane got in, Lady Rorschach, Skull, and Crypt Keeper. Okay, I think we're good. We can roll it. 37 entries. Who is gonna get it?
Good luck, everybody.
Oinky!
Oinky! Congratulations! Round of applause.
Yes, person on my channel. I think
Oinky
she's
won the last jar. Oinky, do you want 2 terrariums? Because she won the jar last time.
Wait, she did?
Yeah.
She did?
What?
If you want 2 terrariums, that's cool. I will buy you a second jar, and I will send you. I will send you enough. I'll send you enough substrate to do both. because whatever. But yeah, if you want two terrariums, yeah, I'll send you a second one. But geez, it's rigged.
I didn't rig it this time.
That's crazy.
Where's Fat Kitty when you need to flip them?
Cat. Throw a cat.
He is asleep over on the couch. I could go get him, but he doesn't want that.
Oinky says, absolutely. Her nephew will do the project with her. So.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, Oinky, I have your address already. So I won't send the substrate out until I haven't made it yet. So it won't be until next week when I ship it out because I have to make it first. So, but the jar I will get sent to you before that. To the same address. So that's so exciting. You guys can make them as a project. Wow.
That's very exciting. And she's, getting her nephew involved in it. That's awesome. That way she can will all of her future terrariums to him.
That's right. And I think that this is a good project for kids. I might, over Christmas, do this with my little nephews, make a terrarium.
It is, especially if the kids are very much like to be outside. Like me, I love to play in the creeks when I was little, or the pond, or in the mud, or the dirt, or in the garden. I was always up digging in that stuff. So terrariums was exactly where I should have been my whole life.
Believe it or not, I like to do that too.
Then terrariums is your home jam.
I mean, yeah,
Awesome.
That's so cool. I think it's us 85ers, Steven. That's what it is.
Could be. I mean, we were in that generation where it was like go outside, and when the street lights turn on, come home.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yep. When the fireflies are outside, you need to come home inside now.
And if you're older than that, sometimes you didn't even have to pay attention to that. You just came home when you wanted.
Like you make dinner, it was on you.
Yeah.
Right. Had to feed yourself. Lady Diane says water moccasins were my first friends. Oh,
so friendly they are.
Oh,
those are
those are the ones you just want to cuddle with all day long. Yeah. You're so soft and fuzzy.
Brooklyn says drink out of the hose pipe if you're thirsty. Yeah,
exactly.
For sure. Either. Just pick it up out of the dirt.
Yep.
Just more minerals.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how we got all of our minerals back in the day.
Right.
Nowadays, we're all a little bit lacking because we stopped drinking out of the water hose.
Yeah, I didn't play with the snakes. I played with the frogs and the turtles.
Yeah.
Frogs, turtles, ducks, fishing. So I was always swimming, always in the water.
Awesome. And Oinky says, as many problems as my nephew has, he has expressed a deep interest in wanting to do aquascaping with me for a while. He'll love doing this. Well, that is
awesome.
Yeah. And you guys can each do one. So you can, it can be a special project for you to do together. That's so awesome. So it was meant to be. It wasn't rigged. It was meant to be.
Yeah. Everyone caught on when I said I didn't rig it this time. It cannot be rigged either. You can go to wheelofnames.com and try to take it apart and break it all you want. And maybe you can, but I can't. I put the names on the wheel and I click it.
So a couple announcements. FIshFam Christmas.
Yeah. It's coming soon.
Coming soon. So if you want to be a channel host, you got to sign up now.
Yep.
You can subscribe to FIshFam Christmas on YouTube. I bet Ahmad will drop a link to that. Otherwise, if you want to donate a prize, there's no amount that's too small to donate.
Not at all.
For cash value. So, if you only have a couple bucks you want to donate, that's fine. For goods, it has to be aquarium related, but donations are accepted. So, and then it seems like there was one other announcement. What was it? Oh, Fishy Biz.
Turkeys?
The turkeys.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're helping out Biz. He's a teacher in high school. He buys turkeys for his students, a lot of whom have trouble affording a turkey. So it's a thing he does every year. And last year he bought, I don't know how many turkeys, but it was a lot of turkeys. And he does videos like showing where he buys them and where he goes price shopping for them. So, if you can spare the money, it's nice to help someone out.
Yes, and I believe he said he priced the turkeys, and they're 99 cents a pound.
Hey.
So on average, a turkey is about 20 pounds. So a $20 donation would fund a whole turkey for Fizz. And if you're not able to do that amount, every dollar counts to help get these kids make sure they have a nice meal for Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, another way you can help out this holiday season. So I just wanted to make sure that we got all that out there.
Foxy, did you have any announcements of your own or anything you want to promote? Or
I did want to say just our shipping season has closed, so there will be no more shipping for our get gills for Propagation Aquatics. In fact, I have to get tracking numbers out after this live stream, Lady Rorschach, yours included. So I'll get that out to you guys. Other than that, not too much. We will be going Thursday. We'll be doing a pre-recorded live stream for Thanksgiving. Miss Mary, Miss Dee Dee, and I will be with our families, but we have recorded something to play for you guys to watch. So we'll be in chat, but it will be pre-recorded. We just want you guys all to have a blessed, happy, and healthy, and hopefully not too insane Thanksgiving. And thank you so much for having me up with you guys today.
Thanks for being here. This is awesome. I learned
That's
a crap ton.
awesome.
And if you guys have any questions about terrarium building, or if you just want to refresh, feel free to message me. I'm always available.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you and Keni, who has left. Thank you so much for coming up. This is so exciting. I'm excited for our terrarium date.
Me too. You mean Dee Dee?
I know. I'm so excited.
Y'all are filming it, right? Yes.
No.
Why?
Because then we can't be ourselves.
No. That makes it even better.
That's what blooper reels are for.
Oh man.
I mean, Stephen, if you're not working, you could maybe be invited to the date, but I think you're probably going to work on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm going to be working, and that's a bit of a travel or drive.
Yeah.
Like.
I know. So, yeah, and remember, post them under #MoistureTerrarium. So there's no due date for this. Like, this is just
for funsies.
Yeah, this is just for fun. This is not a contest.
No one's judging anything. It's just
this is just
do something different.
Doing something cool, a cool
I have a feeling though, if Nano's gonna do it, he's gonna blow us out of the water, just like
that's
that
why we're
darn
not making it a contest.
It's too
not a competition.
He still already wins though.
No prizes.
That's right. And you know what? These are gifts for family members. So if I make it too cool and they don't maintain it or make it look good or like drop it, I don't want to be heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my mom will be like, "Whoops, Sarah, I dropped it." Springtails everywhere.
Then you can tell her there's bugs in it. Oh, you dropped it? Do you get all the bugs?
I'm just not going to tell her there's springtails in it because her vision is not that good. She can't see the springtails.
And you really won't ever truly see them, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I feel like we can get away with that. Now, my nephews, they would want to know there were springtails there because they would think that was interesting because they are 6 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but they might tell your mom, and then she might get rid of the terrarium.
Don't tell grandma about the bugs. And then they would tell grandma about the bugs. So, so it is difficult. But so Geek Boy, he said, donate a dead bird.
He's not wrong.
But not just any dead bird, okay? Like donate cash for turkeys.
A large dead bird.
That's right.
You could even say it's a big bird.
Big bird. Let Biz pick the bird.
That's right. Oh, God. I mean, how are you doing, Geek Boy? You got in-laws there? We're thinking about you.
Man,
You're in
he
our
has been
prayers.
dealing with
Begging for help
in-laws
in the
a lot
Discord.
lately. Like, I feel like
Sometimes.
just recently he had an in-law encounter that he
Mhm.
had to go through.
It's tough times. I mean, we're here for you. We're thinking about you. Thoughts and prayers, man. Thoughts and prayers.
Yep.
I'm glad I love my in-laws and they love me too.
You know, my in-laws are dead. Jake's parents died decades ago. He's an only child of only children. He has no family at all.
I'm gonna resist the urge for dark humor.
You know, you could just engage in it because he does too. So, yeah. So, but I mean, on the one hand, it's sad, but on the other, I mean, there's no in-laws to deal with. So,
Yeah, it's not like you killed him.
this is
Or did
true.
she? We don't know this. She just said they're no longer here. We don't know the timeline.
I mean, I was married before, and there were a lot of in-laws.
What happened to him?
He
Still
ain't there
alive?
no more.
We are
Kelly's
not.
got a history, folks. We're learning about it now.
That substrate that she's sending out that might have that substrate, the dirt in there might be from.
It's natural.
Kelly's got her own body form. This is great.
Kelly playing a long game with the body disposal.
I mean, you know, what are these bricks really made of?
I hope.
I don't know what was
fiber.
his name.
You know, Oinky's just gonna have to take that chance. Don't think about it too hard, Oinky.
It's vegetarian soil, Oinky. Don't worry about it.
Right. No ex-in-laws or ex-husbands died to bring you this terrarium substrate.
So, Myrtle, do you have any parting words as well? Anything you want to mention?
Just if you get collectoritis, embrace it. There's no running away from it. So once you've got aquariums now, once you start building terrariums, if you feel like you need to buy 78 more jars or containers to build your terrarium, go for it.
Thank you for enabling all of us, Myrtle.
Brackets are cheapest on Amazon, FYI, guys.
I mean, Myrtle is somewhat restricted by the size of his dorm and the presence of his roommate. But given more space, who knows what Myrtle would do? I mean,
I did have 63-ish tanks in my garage before I moved out for a dorm. So collectoritis is definitely something that hits me hard.
I cannot wait to see your fish room whenever you graduate.
It's going to be out of control. I mean, you'll have tanks in the bathrooms, Myrtle.
Probably suspended from the ceiling.
You can always judge the level of fish insanity someone has reached by whether they have tanks in the bathroom. That's going to be Myrtle.
Yep, definitely.
I mean, Foxy, and you're not there yet. You don't have tanks in your bathroom yet.
No, there's barely space for people in our bathroom.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with us too.
I mean, we have a skylight. I mean, I can figure something out, but other than that, no, there can't be unless we fill the tub.
Yeah. You should not fill your tub because you should not give up showering for your hobby.
Or we can choose the outside tub.
Yep, it was a good time of year for the outside tub, huh?
The outside hot tub, yes.
Oh yeah.
No. So, what kind of cool things are you going to be breeding to get ready for spring? Because this is the stock up season, right?
Yes. One sec. I need to. Sorry, I'm still getting over what I was sick with. So this winter we are working on all our different corridors that we have, all of our different reservoir species that we have. We have many different types of plecos that we're working on. So it's a lot of nano species. We are also just acquired the last few colors to have all the basic Neocardinas. So we're hoping to be able to bring those to you guys next spring and have all the basic colors. So I'm really excited about that. I'm most excited about getting these axolotls to just tank breed. They've spawned for me. They've made eggs. Stop eating your babies. I need them. My problem is I haven't moved them to the reservoir rack because I haven't had time yet. So the eggs that they spawned, they hatched, but they already got the babies. So which means they can make babies, which means people told me they can't be tank spawned, and I did it. Now I just gotta get the babies out and to grow up. So I'm so super excited. That's probably my most exciting thing, is bringing out the axolotls. There's everything I read has just said that they're impossible.
I love when people say you can't, and then someone.
Me too. They said that about CBDs too, but all I have to do is add water, and they just
they
replicating.
Spawn. You know what? Those people, they don't know you, Foxanne, because you are pretty good at doing the impossible.
Yeah, I don't know about impossible, but I'm pretty good at getting them to be happy and make more of themselves. So if you love them and treat them right, they will gladly give you more.
That's awesome. And you're going to have new axolotl babies soon because they're getting busy.
Yes, the female is, I have 2 leucistic axolotl adults. They have not spawned yet, but they should just be of age. The female's belly is extremely swollen, and the male's cloaca is extremely extended. So I'm expecting them to, I expect to wake up with a tank full of babies any day. My other axolotls are doing good. I have my 75 goldfish community. I just set up. All those babies are super happy. We have the Corridora rack that we're putting all the corridors on. So we're going to have I think we have like 11 different types or 12 different types of cories here. I think we have like 6 or 7 different types of plecos beyond the bristlenose, I believe. There's so many here to keep track of. But all I know is that we've sold out so much this year that like all of our fish, that we've gone from 71 tanks with fish in it down to 43. So we only have 43 tanks with fish in them right now.
We have a busy winter then.
Yeah, we have a lot of breeding ahead of us. So it's just live baby brine shrimp all day long, and just
how many hatcheries do you have going for brine shrimp?
2 2-liter bottles every day.
So Foxanne, at Christmas, I'm gonna bring you my aquarium co-op hatchery because I bought it and I haven't used it, and I've owned it 2 years and I'm never gonna use it. I need to just accept that about myself.
Do you want us to make you another one? Because we make ours.
No, I'm just gonna bring you the one I have. The you know, like the Zis hatchery.
Oh, those are really cool. Yeah,
I'll bring it for you because I'm never gonna use it. It's never gonna happen.
I can have that in my reservoir room because I have the other one is over here. Brian custom makes mounted holders to put the 2-liter bottles on the wall. So that's what he does. Yeah, everything's custom made. But although I rolled my eyes, it's really, really cool. I rolled my eyes because I pull my hair. But I love that how everything is just basically red cedar here. So
I feel like Brian is like the anti-Kelly. I mean, I DIY nothing. Brian makes everything. He's over there making you furniture. And, you know, he's like the strong, silent type. And I'm just a blathering idiot.
Brian's like, what? It's $5 at the hardware store? I'm going to make it anyway.
Because it's better made if you make it at home out of hardwood than buying it out of particle board and it falling apart when it gets wet the first time. So.
I mean, I will cook things from scratch. Like, I will cook all kinds of things from scratch, but I just don't want to DIY anything. If it involves a power tool, I'm out.
Yeah, like if you used to watch my latest unboxing, I'm part of the Keni Club with the knife. Yeah, I can't. So I have to be super careful. So Brian,
cut away from you, people.
Yes, Brian is the teddy bear that welds and does all the hard stuff, and I just do all the office work and the organization and baby feeding for the most part, and we do our fish keeping stuff together.
I got this little rack. You can see it. Maybe if I turn. See that little?
Yes, your little cart. I love that thing.
I got that on Amazon. It was like $30. Really
it's so
cute.
Does it
roll?
What?
Does it roll like it's on wheels? That's nice.
Yeah, and it's got like these little cups on it that my aquascaping tools fit in.
One day I'll be organized.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
We have a little bar that hangs on the rack that all the little tools hanged off of. And I think it's meant to hold knives, but Brian's repurposed it to hold the aquascaping tools.
Oh, that's cool. But it got here, and I opened the box, and Jake didn't even say a word. He just took it from me and put it together because he knows I saw this.
Yeah.
Like IKEA furniture, nah, I can't. That's not tight.
I mean, you can, but you could have a bad 4.5 days.
That's right, a bad 4.5 days, and he'll just do it. And I'm like, "Do you want the directions?" I don't want the directions. I'm like,
have to
well,
have
all
it.
right then, fine. I mean, I don't know. Like, if I have to put together a filter or something, like, I like to read the directions.
Yeah, I like to know what I'm doing, where things go, so I don't force things in and then they break off, and then I use the wrong size screws and the wrong size holes and they get stuck. So, no, yeah.
I don't know. He never reads the directions because
For
he's
furniture, like
for anything.
I get it for a filter. It's kind of intuitive, but like when you just have a whole bunch of slabs of wood and a bag of hardware, I gotta have some starting point at least.
No, he never reads the directions, and it would take him half the amount of time. But you know why I don't criticize him? Because I don't want to do it. This is how he feels. Yeah. He used to be, when he first got out of grad school, he was a tech writer for he would write like the manuals for biomedical engineering, big equipment. And I think that he wrote so many manuals that now he never reads them.
Because he knows what they're lined with.
It's true. Yeah. But I don't want to put them together. So I don't criticize, because if you don't want to do something yourself, you should not criticize the process. That's true. And I have, been in enough long relationships in my time that this is a lesson I've learned. It's like, I don't want to drive, so I do not criticize. He can do what he wants.
The Garden of Eden might be selling some pre-made lids.
Ooh, for little tanks?
She just says she cut another 100 lids. I'm assuming, for 10 gallons.
That's
nice.
Are they made out of the corrugated plastic stuff? Like the...
greenhouse paneling.
Nice.
That's what I need to do. Is I need to get some 10-gallon lids for my new rack, but I don't want them the traditional way. I need them side by side because I have them all long ways.
Yeah.
I can fit as many as possible. So I know that Jason had his done by a glass maker. They just cut them, but he already had the glass.
That's what Gary Lang does. He gets the glass cut by a glazier, and I'll try to dig it up for you. He has like directions for like how he does his lids, and they look really good.
Yeah, because you think someone would already mass produce them because there's always such a demand for them, but there's really no one out there making them. There should be.
I'll find that for you, Foxanne, though, and then you can have Brian do it.
I'd appreciate it. I already told her. I was already looking up glass scorers. So.
Yeah, I'll find it for you because Gary Lang has a really good article on that somewhere. So I'll find it. Because as rainbow fish people, we are pro-lid.
I am anti-lid, but I have to have lids, basically.
Yeah.
I hate lids with a passion, and every tank that I can go lidless now, I'm going lidless.
I don't want my mystery snails to roam or Gracie to go swimming, so I need to take lids.
I can't do the mystery snails lidless. I can't do the rainbow tanks lidless.
There is a way to go lidless. You just fill the top of the tank with lights.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You just do it the Kelly way.
Yeah, and you get that green water environment going. They'll never want to leave.
Yeah, I actually don't like lidless tanks ever. I just think that the evaporation is so great. And if you have so many tanks in your house and you already live in a swamp, Steven, how humid do you want your house to be? I mean,
it's reached max humidity. It's full saturation. It can't get any more humid. I actually have a little humidity thingy. What do they call a hygrometer or something?
Oh, hygrometer.
Yeah, and it stays at like 55% humidity in the house forever, all the time.
Yeah, I just don't like to deal with that much evaporation. And cats, man, cats.
Cats.
Cat.
Tell me how Gracie fell into the fish tank face first, but only came out back end wet.
How did that work, Kat?
I don't know, but I think the Kamakas got her out of there real fast. Not the Kamaka.
So Jenna says, I disagree, Kelly. I don't want to drive on the interstate, but I can criticize.
Those two things are true. She doesn't want to drive on the interstate, and she definitely believes she can criticize.
Wow. No, I don't. I do not offer my my critique. But Jake is an excellent driver, so that's. And I suck at driving. I'm a really bad driver.
I can't drive, so Brian does, and he is an excellent driver.
Well, that's good. There you go. Yeah, Lady Metalhead. Apparently, so we live. I don't know, not even a mile from each other, and she apparently was behind me in some intersection. And she just went on and on and on and went about her streams about what an awful driver I am. She's just like, I can't believe you couldn't stay straight in your lane, and it went on and on. So I'm enraging a lot of people on the roads. I'm the cause of a lot of road rage. So, well. Should we maybe wrap things up, or?
Yeah, I think so. I'm getting a little hungry, so
Yeah, me too.
Hint, Jenna, I'm hungry.
But you don't criticize dinner because you don't make it.
I mean, dinner is always delicious. I have nothing to criticize.
Of course it is. Jenna's making it.
Exactly. She's an excellent cook.
I had an ex. I was not with him very long. He never cooked. And he never said a nice thing about my cooking ever. And I'm a good cook. And he was always like, this could be a little better.
You like Gordon Ramsay?
No, he just was an asshole. Never that long.
An asshole with nothing to back it up. No
Exactly. He never cooked one thing, but never had a nice thing to say. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you
And with
so
that-
much to our awesome mods and chatters and super chatters and members and all you awesome people
And replay crew,
lurkers and
thank
replay
you.
crew. And as always, replay crew, leave your comments, questions, and we will come back and answer them.
Yes, I answer all the questions from the replay crew. And last but not least, thank you, Foxanne. Thank you for
You're more than
joining us.
welcome.
Thank you,
Why not?
Kenny.
Thank you, Kenny.
Taking care of his toddler and his baby. He's so tired. Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate you all.
Right. Thank you all, and bye-bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.